Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and man, that was a longer delay than we ever wanted. A lot of confusion as we had two different teams drop out on the other half of the bracket, making a whole bunch of chaos for all of us staff, which I do want to mention very quickly. We will be, from here moving forward, as we continue to learn how to best run these series in these Scrim gyms, we will be implementing some sort of punishment for teams that leave after the bracket has been made. We're not exactly sure what that punishment is. We'll figure that out between now and next week, but for now, just make sure that if you are a team and you are playing in these events, that you are aware that there will be something levied against you if you do leave after the bracket has been made. But we're back on the top side. SC Gigabytes taking on the Grand Canyon University Esports team. It's going to be a spicy one because we're back into the collegiate scene, which I'm loving. For the side of SC Gigabytes, it's back to Psycho in the top lane, Ostrus in the jungle. I'll take mid in the mid lane. Kokira in that AD carry, and Arbok as their support. Once again, I am Jay Kelton, joined by Wraith as my co-caster. Wraith, if you would do the honor of running through the Grand Canyon University Esports team.
That is going to be Whoa, I've got one too, Jake. Siglere in the top lane, Nova Wolf in the jungle, Plumber Mario in the mid lane, Forbidden in the bottom lane ADC role, and GCU Quicksands rounding it out in the bottom lane supportive role. Yeah, that's going to sort us out right here. Do you have any predictions based on exactly what we've seen in the past? What's our data? I mean, we just saw Gigabyte put the hurt on last week's champions, but what are these new guys going to bring to the table?
Well, I will tell you exactly what they're going to bring to the table. It's going to be a quirky first ban from the side of SC Gigabytes. Then they're going to ban away the Jarvan, then the Twitch, and then from the side of Grand Canyon University Esports, it's a Rengar, Kayn, Tristana, and Vayne. I just have the super psycho thoughts. Look at that. Perfect predicted exactly what their bans are going to be from both sides. And sorry, no, it's actually not pro draft. It's They sent me a screenshot because both these teams were already into picks and bans when we got the information that a team left and eventually had to swap over. So a huge thank you, and we appreciate it to both these teams for stopping their picks and bans mid picks and bans so that we could hop in and actually cast this game. But what we saw from the side of Gigabytes, as they have locked in that Karma yet again, they obviously favor this swappable Karma. We saw it support last game. Maybe they just really like Karma support. I'm not sure. However, that Tristana was banned against them, so they have to pick a different ADC, as they do grab Talia. Could also be swappable between jungle and mid, so a lot of flex picking potential going on here as Kled, the last lock-in for that top lane.
Yep. I just have to say that I think Karma's a very strong support at the moment. She hasn't been bad for a very long time, but she's always just been the super flexible, gives you the ability to play highly aggressive. Oh, and the Tristana banned away for good reason from Kokira. However, as I was saying about the Karma, gives you a very flexible sort of a champion. You can max Q for poker, you can max E for shielding, and if you're in top lane, you can, of course, or mid lane, you can max W if you just want to troll them. With the amount of healing you get from Empowered W, it's hilarious.
She's not only flexible between lanes, but she's flexible on build path, whether you go full support or AP, and she's flexible on what you pick up when it comes to maxing different skills. So can we just call Karma a contortionist at this point with how darn flexible she is as a whole?
Oh, Jake, I didn't get to tell you this, but the best turn of phrase I've heard so far is somebody referred to jujitsu as involuntary yoga.
Oh,
it made me laugh.
I like it.
Way too long.
You don't necessarily want to do yoga, but we'll make you do yoga whether you like it or not. Singe being locked in means that it's most likely being played in the top lane with the Mordekaiser. Mid is my best guess right now, unless that's a Singe support and I'm going crazy.
I hope it's not a Singe support. It's Singed ADC, Kaisa mid.
Oh!
Definitely.
Big brain! 3,000 IQ coming out. No, we'll see what the last pickup is. It's got to be Skarner in the jungle. Really, Skarner doesn't do any good in those lanes. Mordekaiser highly favors top lane, can be played mid, but a highly immobile champion, especially against the Talia. Life is going to suck very hard there. and then so that leaves the Singed to be top lane, or I mean mid lane or support. And I have seen, I think, one Singed before, mostly focuses on farming, does a lot of recalling. I'm expecting mid lane to carry teleport if it is being played with this Singed. So many questions.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions on that one. I would assume Singed would be top.
So Mordekaiser mid?
Yeah, I mean, that makes the most sense.
Okay.
I mean, you're right. Talia will hurt Mordekaiser a lot. If she plays well, she can just deny him any access to her using Seismic Shove. And that's going to be the Nami supportive role, supporting the Kai'Sa there. Yeah, that's definitely a curious pickup. Singed to War, they're going top lane, as we expected. So Mordekaiser going to be in that mid lane against the Sylas, actually. That's not a terrible matchup for him. It's going to be Talia in the jungle.
Now, they do have till 20 seconds to officially lock that in, but it's looking like that's the way they want to roll it now.
Yeah, I would expect that to be it. Talia still pretty good in the jungle, especially level 6 just allows her to randomly appear in a lane.
There's the swap! 2 seconds before it! I saw that coming a mile away. Haha! Talia, I still like Talia better to the Mordekaiser because of the low mobility on Mord, and you're gonna have that Seismic Shove to get free harassment down. But very quickly, I realized they swapped back? I don't think that's legal. Alright, we're just gonna let it slide right now. Alright.
Why would that not be illegal?
Because technically, even in LCS rules, you have till 20 seconds to lock in your champions, and then you can't move it after 20, which gives the other team the opportunity to change spells or runes if they want to. Now, you obviously can't swap champions, because obviously that 20 second is the mark, but spells and runes are that you can swap all the way up.
I think they were just screwing with you, Jay.
They might have been screwing with me, and that's fine. I did want to ask this question to Twitch chat as well as you. Unfortunately, very briefly, we won't see at 9.19 coming out this coming Thursday, Mordekaiser's ult was changed so that spectators actually get to see them fighting rather than just those little ghosty flames running around, which is so annoying that you can't see what's happening in the fight. But if Mordekaiser ults Sylas, and then Sylas steals Mordekaiser's ultimate and ults Mordekaiser, is this Inception where they just keep going deeper into Mordekaiser's ultimate? You go into the Spirit Realm, and then you go into a second Spirit Realm? Or does Sylas's ult of Mordekaiser in Mordekaiser's ultimate bring them back into the real world? It's like a reverse Mordekaiser ultimate. Questions. I gotta see it happen, man.
I feel like, while those are very interesting thoughts, I feel like the culmination of your desires here is going to be very underwhelming, Jake. It's going to be, I feel like it's just going to be like, and we're in the Spirit Realm again, and the cooldown is refreshed.
So we probably won't see it actually come out, but that would be pretty funny. Maybe I'll draw up a comic regarding that. But either way, with these picks as they come through, it's a lot of meta coming out from Gigabytes. They're running that Sylas, which is very classic. They ran the Karma, which you just finished playing last game. Kled in the top lane is a monster, but they're into champions that you might not typically see, especially that Nami, Mordekaiser being a mid laner, Singed in the top lane. These are some pretty spicy picks from Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Somebody commented that Adaptive Helm is looking like it's going to give Grand Canyon some problems, and that's definitely true. I am liking the Skarner pickup. I just like seeing Skarner in a more competitive environment. It gives you the opportunity to really pick off the Fed member and force that Fed member to pay 1,300 gold, which is a substantial amount of cash.
Mm-hmm.
And you, in some cases, if the game is a little bit more even, like they're not completely snowballed out of control, that extra 1,300 can be the difference between your carry and their carry. You know, say he's got 3 or 4 kills or 2 kills up and is up some CS over your opposing ADC, but he's then forced to buy QSS. All of his lead just got sunk into avoiding your ultimate, and there's no damage that comes with that. So oftentimes just the Skarner pick can completely neutralize a lead in a lane just by forcing them to pay the QSS tax.
And you do also have that Nami as well. It's kind of that layering of CC. You get Skarner dragging somebody in, and then they're bubbled by that Nami, and you kind of just go for a really strong pick. Now, their team fight isn't as strong, but their pick is huge, especially considering they've got themselves that Kai'Sa, and Mordekaiser can just ult someone and truly pull them completely away from the fight on the map. Singed also with his throw, so I'm not expecting too many huge 5v5 fights from Grand Canyon University. However, Gigabytes have themselves massive collapse. You've got the Kled with the charge ultimate, Talia bringing the Weaver's wall, the high mobility from Karma's shield that can really move around the map, and Gigabytes were able to use that effectively last game when they won all of their lanes and then steamrolled some of those team fights as well. We are into game number 2 of the night. SC Gigabytes taking on Grand Canyon University Esports, as it's another 5-man start. Everyone's spreading out across the map. Make sure there's no cheesy invades for game number 2.
Yep, just standard positions. Stand in your corners, guys. Just act as human wards, or in some cases not so human, but whatever. At the moment, I like the Kai'Sa a lot better than the Lucian, to be honest. Lucian, strong in lane, weak in late game. He's pretty difficult to execute. Though he's not into a team that really screws him over. Usually he really gets messed up by long-range burst mages, who can just completely destroy him before he gets in range to attack anybody. But all in all, especially if he goes the more lane-dominant on-hit sort of build, he's going to have some serious issues in the late game when Kai'Sa is coming online, who's going to take a good little chunk of damage from the empowered Karma Q. It feels really good to get that off before laning phase, because usually that will then allow her, the Karma, to get off another empowered Q fairly early in the lane, and that just does so much damage.
Poke, 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 especially on that squishy Nami. Now, one of the things that Quicksands can bring to the table is that heal, even if they do have that Kai'Sa getting poked down like you see there. There's that ebb and flow to heal that Kai'Sa almost back up to full, which is pretty nice to take into a lane where you're expecting to get poked. But this is actually a duelist Jhin. If he goes in, especially on something that Karma tethers, could be a pretty serious fight. As Sylas in that mid lane, going to get slammed around a little bit by that Mordekaiser. Both are those more melee champions beating each other up, both of them down to about half health already. In the bot lane, it's going to be a little bit of a slow from Arbok. He's actually got burst damage down onto the Nami. She does have her flash still available. Karma's going to shield and speed boost herself forward throughout that Q. It's going to miss, though. So nothing more than just that poke coming through, and she's going to be chugging a bunch of potions to heal back up.
Yeah, and being able to chunk down the healer oftentimes, basically what you're doing when you're playing against a healer in bot side, or really in any lane, is you're attacking their mana pool, is what you're doing, rather than, hitting their health directly. And Singe just going to take a very, very small attack from the Kled, who's Singe just trying to shove Kled in, and then probably go to proxy farm. I'm expecting to see Singed hanging out behind a turret at least once during this game.
Skarner gonna find Talia. Also in trouble, stunned up, but great Weaver's Wall, or not Weaver's Wall, excuse me, just a seismic shove, throwing the Skarner backwards, so he goes back for his buff, but Talia was trying to get a sneaky invade and steal away that blue buff, and Skarner actually doesn't have it that low, so he walks away completely being at that half health and having the support of Gigabytes come up and say hello. As you were talking
Sylas.
Briefly. Wait, Sylas is coming in, so we could see a fight in this jungle. Mordekaiser getting the obliterate, doesn't do all that much damage at level 1. Alright, so people seem to be splitting away. You were talking about the eating away the health bar of that Nami. Early game, it's a lot easier to do. Late game, she's going to have that Ardent Sensor, a lot more mana regen, a lot more mana as a whole. But in that early game, it is very poignant to take away that Nami's health over the course, which forces her to either play very risky because of that low mana, or have to recall, leaving the ADC for you to try to pick up.
Yeah, and of course, late game, if you're hitting Nami, you don't have to worry about chipping down her health pool. She just blows up like a soap bubble.
Soap bubble. Saw what you did
Yes.
there. That's pretty nice. That joke really popped off as Karma coming in for just a bit more provoke and harassment in that top lane. Clay getting the bear trap on the rope. Look at the joust damage. Dropping Siglier very, very low. And here comes Talia. There's no ultimate available on Talia because they're still very early on to the game. She's got a lot of rocks. Can she actually predict his jump? He might be going down, but it's going to be Talia flashing away. The Kled saves her. It's first blood to Psycho, and Gigabytes already starting off strong.
Yeah, and Psycho already getting those early kills. We saw him on something a little bit more passive, the Ornn last time. This time he's on a lane-dominant champion, and he's already got a kill. Meanwhile, in bot side, you'd expect the Lucian to be, you know, a little bit ahead in this lane, and he is the moment, at least in pressure right now, and a little bit in CS as well. Bubble's going to land, but not anything going to come of it, as the junglers aren't on this side of the map. It's just straight dueling. Quicksand's starting to run out of mana a little bit right now, and the poke definitely coming down and connecting from Arbok. Which is good to see from that side of the matchup there.
Kathy and Rain dropping Karma just a little bit, but it's poke for poke. Lucian leading in CS, though, and that's where all of that harassment from Gigabytes are coming in, forcing this Kai'Sa to play more defensively, and you can see that mana pool of that Nami continuing to get lower and lower, so they're trying to freeze the wave and pick up as much CS and keep the Kai'Sa from picking up CS as long as possible.
Yeah, and Kai'Sa now down 10 CS. That's a substantial number now. Psycho picking up the Tiamat's going to allow him to wave clear against this Singed much more easily now. And he gets the bear trap on a rope, and he's going to get tossed away, but still a decent chunk onto that champion before he manages to get the toss off. And that's another bear trap on a rope.
Well, what I'm liking from Gigabytes as a whole, we saw in game number 1, keep in mind that was the first time we've ever seen them play, is that they're running themselves both times these kind of lane-dominant champions in which they can get a CS lead, and then they're trying to snowball that lead into the future. And I wonder if Y2150, which has moved on to be in the finals, if that team is kind of keeping an eye on this, seeing what it is that they pick, seeing it is how they play, because you can punish lane-dominant champions by either rolling something super late game heavy where you're focused instead on just surviving and not fighting as we get some fight in the bottom lane. Kokoria dropping low, force a flash away, and now the engage continuing forward. There's no ultimate yet on this Kai'Sa, so no killer instinct available. But can Quicksands find herself a nice little bubble? Seismic Shove is going to miss, and Skarner coming in for the side. He's only level 5, but he's got a stun. They've got the bubble onto the Talia. That's going to be a kill going over to Grand Canyon as they get one back. Kokoria also moving away. Sorry. Kokira having to back away once again with the Relentless Pursuit. But a kill for a kill so far. Only 800 gold lead for Gigabytes.
Yeah. And that's mostly going to come out of the CS differences in both lanes. But looking at where that kill did go over, it was to the Skarner, unfortunately, and did not land in Kai'Sa's pockets. The pressure from that, however, will equalize the CS, allowing Kai'Sa to go back and pick up a BF sword, going the more lane-dominant build. Hold on, Siglier, no, not going to get caught here. Thought he was just going to walk right in and get himself chunked out. But oh, hold on. The bear trap on the rope does connect, so that's going to be a lot of damage that comes back up from the joust, and it's level 7.
He still got bear trap a second time. It is going to be broken, so Singe is going to be able to get away. Didn't take that TP, but does have the open spell book, so can grab teleport if it's up and available for him to get back into that top lane. He actually has a CS lead versus the Kled for a short period of time, and it's the kind of the one lane that's doing well in that mid lane, though. Palmer might be going down. He tried to heal with the shield, but it's not enough. Does trade 1-for-1 as Silas dive the turrets. I'll take mid. Will be going down, but that gives Talia some time to pick up some turret plate gold in that mid lane.
Yeah, and it's so worth it because a giant wave just crashed. Mordekaiser's just going to lose probably 150, 200 gold off of that right there. So while it does look like 1-for-1, it's much more...
Ignite down onto the Kai'Sa. Forbidden going to be flashing, but still going to be dying. Arbok picks up the kill, but now Arbok in trouble. Nama trying to do what she can. She does get the kill with the ebb and flow. It's a support for ADC, and I think the side of Gigabyte's a little bit happy with that. However, great calling out of Lucian into the Relentless Pursuit to get right up close and personal, take down the fish, have himself a little sushi dinner, so he'll grab some other plates for himself as well. Tit for tat, these teams go, but Gigabyte's still with the gold lead.
Yeah, and I have to give mad credit to Quicksands, despite the fact that they lost that fight. It was so good. What? Hold on, we've got Nova Wolf coming in.
Retreat! From Psycho.
Charge that way!
Charge away from the enemy team. He says gets back to the turret, so we'll live with that ultimate expenditure. But that also, with the jungler showing in the top lane, gives some free time for them to grab that first strike of the game, the Ocean Drake. Now, game number 1, they went down first strike of the game, but came back with 2 solid ones afterwards. And Gigabytes showed up strong with this first Drake themselves. We'll see if they can keep that up. It's win Drake next in 4 minutes.
And at the moment, oh yeah, as I was saying, I was giving mad props to Quicksands for the double bubble right there. Almost managed to save his AD and turn around the fight. Ended up, hold on, what?
Are you wanting to dive Arbok under the turret? It is at Karma. She's got lots of shields, and there's a Lucian coming in from the base.
Yeah.
Just fresh off of that recall.
That's very aggressive. Expended the ultimate, and Nova Wolf
Skarner's
is here.
Gonna grab that ultimate. We'll see what he can do. The TP coming in from the cliff at the top lane, but they've already grabbed themselves that Karma. Talia coming with Weaver's Wall as well. What can she do? She's a little bit slow, but very tough on the rope. Gonna pull the Skarner backwards, and Nova Wolf might be in a bit of trouble. Lucian not gonna be able to find any damage though, as he was coming in a bit late. Silas roaming in from mid lane, but everyone's already under their turret. He steals away the Nami ultimate. Could throw it down to Party in the bot lane, but he's just gonna grab it and head back towards mid.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Singe picking up a lot of CS, as well as probably 2, I doubt 3 turret plates. But he does have a wave here. He might be able to very well get that 3 turret plate number right there, but it's going to be traded back on the bot side as the Lucian does get even more money in his pockets. 2-0, 20 CS up, as well as... Oh, hold on. No, she already expended the ultimate. Sorry, I was wondering if she was going to hit the W and then go hard onto this. As Lucian was looking a little bit lower on the mana side, hitting about half, and had already burned all his cooldowns.
A little bit of player on that bottom side. They'll actually get the Nami ultimate coming out, but the bubble's going to miss, which means now Kokoria could kind of turn things around. Gokira finds it with a culling. It's actually Karma that steals away the kill onto the Kai'Sa. Quicksand's going to be next up, and Karma graciously gives that one over to the Lucian. He's 3-0-2. Bot lane is on the line right now.
Yeah, and Arbok is doing such work in these fights. I mean, Kokira playing them beautifully, but Arbok's supporting is just absolutely on point right now, and it's showing because there's a huge lead in this bot side. I would almost like to see Kokira go into a more a crit style of build afterward, so that you can kind of maintain your lead. Oh, it does actually break Bear Trap on a rope. I was just noticing that Kled does actually get his Bear Trap broken when he gets flung, and it would have been an interesting interaction if it was just inside of range.
Kept it fling me with the Bear Trap back into my own turret. Noble Wolf gonna pick off at least one member on the enemy team, as that's Talia gonna be ulted by Mordekaiser. Glummer Mario being knocked backwards. There's the Obliterate! He flashes to get it! They're looking for the Silas. Next, I'll take mid, try to flash back to the turret, but only into a bubble from the Nami. And now comes Kled charging on, and we'll see what he can actually do. Only forces the flash out of Singulary, and he's going to be dropping a little bit low. The ebb and flow from Nami, keeping everyone topped off. Even takes a turret shot as they're backing away. 3 kills for Grand Canyon. No one dies.
Yeah, that was an excellent collapse. And the thing is, you just had a conga line of Gigabytes just walking into the mid lane one at a time. It's like, wait, I can 4v1. No, I can 4v1. No, I can 4v1. And turns out none of them could actually 4v1. League is a game of numbers, guys. If they have more people than you, don't do it. I don't care if you're the best Riven 1 trick in the world and want to make it on whatever highlight reel. Just wait.
Come on, everyone needs to get into Syndicate, the highlight reel master of the YouTubes.
No. Just play good, solid... Usually the outplay montages you see are because somebody screwed up. It's like I read something the other day that says if you see the whites of their eyes, somebody has messed up. Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. If you can see those, you've already done something wrong. So if you have to make like the world's biggest outplay and end up on all those highlight reels, it's usually because somebody already screwed up.
Well, so we're going to take the Weaver's Wall, and we'll see if that's a mistake, as Plumber Mario doesn't have his ultimate up and available, so he's going to have to 2v1. He cannot get that damage down, though, in time, and he will fall. Silas picking up his second kill of the game. He's about 20 CS lead over this Mordekaiser, which is nice, but not exactly what you were hoping out of a Silas versus Mordekaiser in that mid lane. Bottom lane turret very low to falling. Could be first turret of the game as a calling from Lucian. Just getting a little bit of harassment down, but that Nami has a lot of heals at that 14-minute mark.
Yeah, definitely does, but I don't know. Kai'Sa's behind right now. At some point, she's going to become just absolutely unstoppable. But Silas does scale really hard into the late game, so regardless of what happens in this mid lane, unfortunately, Mordekaiser was much further behind a moment ago, but then he picked up 3 kills in the mid lane off of that botched fight. So right now, he's very even with Silas at the moment.
Drake started up by Gigabytes, and that's going to be second Drake of the game, uncontested by Grand Canyon. And it's a Skarner, which you think is a really good team fighter, especially around those objectives. You can grab the enemy team jungler, drag them in, finish them off quick, especially the squishy Talia. But no contesting on these dragons so far. Maybe they'll try to fight for the Rift Herald.
Maybe. And it's going to be another Ocean coming on the table later in about 5 minutes. The Rift Herald probably should be a contested objective at this point, as Bot Tower has already fallen. And 4 people are in the mid lane now, with Kai'Sa hovering toward that side. I'll take mid manages to knock out the wave, so it's not going to be any chance of that turret going down. Gonna hit the back button, and Lucian has already roamed toward top side. Karma soon to join him, and it looks like they're doing the lane swap thing. Gonna try and take their dominance to another lane where they can knock down towers, and then most likely in the final stages transition that pressure into the mid lane and see if they can get that outer tower knocked down.
Well, it's a nice thing that I like to see from Gigabytes is the fact that they're not just sitting idle. It can kind of feel sometimes when we're watching these games, especially with these mid to higher level teams, is that they get to a decent point and then they don't know what to do with it. And they end up kind of just stalling out, waiting way too long, letting the enemy team pick up a bunch of big items, and then things get far more even than they might have liked. At this point, Gigabytes from game number 1 and this game seem to have a pretty good idea of where it is they're looking next. They see the jungle in the top lane, they grab the Drake. They get the bottom lane turret, they rotate into the top lane. Kled gonna go ahead and hop on in onto Singe. It's a bad idea, normally speaking, to chase the Singe, but maybe he could do it this time around. He heads to his turret. Bear Trap on a rope is going to miss. Skarner's coming in as well. Kled is knocked off of his mount. He's gonna be going down. Noah, nice cleanse, gets him out of the way of that Skarner. He flashes for the finish, though, so Nova Wolf will pick up the kill, taking a couple of turret shots out, but they do get that Kled. Unwise to be out that far. Potential fight here in that top lane. Kai'Sa misses, though, that Void Seeker. Rift Herald should go over to the Gigabytes as they've already started up, and no one really there to contest.
Yeah, it's going to be top or bot lane turret in exchange for the Rift Herald, as well as pressure in top side at the moment. The top lane turret going to fall very rapidly. Rift Herald going to go down as well, and this is probably going to be dropped in the mid lane. No, wait, Silas managed to outlane Plumber Mario and get the mid lane turret drop. This is exactly what we saw in the last game, less commanding than Gigabytes' last game. However, that being said, they still did manage to drop all 3 outers first and in rapid succession with one another. So they have a substantial gold lead despite the kills being relatively even at the moment. By relatively, I mean dead even. Meanwhile, I'll take mid, just clearing out the wave. Kled moving up toward the bot side. I'm expecting him to stay in a side lane basically the entire game. Kled has always been an amazing split pusher. I guess Singe is just really irritating. I was expecting Psycho to kind of run away with the lead that he had.
8 kills to 8. As you were saying earlier, though, the fact that Gigabytes is not as far ahead as they were in game number 1 just shows that Grand Canyon has been able to kind of keep at least close in pace with them, even though in the last little bit we've seen a bunch of turrets go over to the Gigabytes. It's only really a 2,000 gold lead, whereas last game at about this point, we were seeing that gold lead bloom all the way up to 5,000 gold, pushing 6,000 gold. The big question is whether or not Gigabytes can play the same way they did last game around that Baron buff, where they say, hey, you know what, we want to make sure that we can get this. Last game, they did a good job of sending someone into the side lane to split push while they put 4 men on Baron, and then pulling away when the fight was looking a bit dangerous, and they said, you know what, we're not really interested in doing this. Kled able to duel Singed very well so far. It's just when that Skarner shows up, things get dangerous. Nova seen on a ward, so they pop that Rift Herald in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's where I was expecting it to go. At the moment, I'll take mid, kind of roaming down, keeping some pressure, but that's just going to be mid tier 2 falling instantly. Shelly doing work right there, definitely worth, as you remember earlier, they traded Rift Herald for bot lane outer, and Rift Herald's always a question mark. Is it going to be worth the trade or not? And in this case it was. That would be a mid inner turret traded for bot outer in the end, and that is definitely worth so much jungle access opened up. They can put wards pretty much wherever they want. All in all, a very fine trade for Gigabyte.
And you could see in that last fight for that mid lane turret, they had 4 members that could have been collapsed on. Oh, both teams were really grouping hard for what might have been a big 5v5 fight, but there was a Singed that was coming around behind Gigabytes, and they pull off. Silas splits one direction, the rest of the team backs away, and they don't commit to a fight they don't know that they can win. This also gives them, because of the way and the direction that they moved, the next Drake, another Ocean Drake. So they're going to have 2 Ocean Drakes on a very mana-heavy side team composition, which is so nice for them. And the fact that they're playing a bit more of this big macro game is so nice to see in this level of team play.
And that is going to be a Mountain Drake being the final, or maybe not the final, but one of the final spawns in this game. Maybe we'll actually get to see an Infernal Drake this game, but I doubt it. So much priority placed on the Drake from Gigabyte, though, and they have managed to get it every single time. As you were saying, many of their champions are mana hungry, going to require a good amount of resources, and just being able to step back for a few seconds and recover, a quarter of your mana bar, definitely an advantage in long sieges, which is something this team does not really have. They don't have really any sieging potential to speak of. The only poke ability they have is Talia's Q, but when she's standing on worked ground, it's really not that impressive of an ability at all anyway. So even late game, they're going to have some very difficult time knocking down the tower without Baron buff, which I believe they are setting up for in just a moment.
I like taking away Skarner's ulti. When you're talking about a pick composition, what's better than taking away the enemy team's pick comp and using it for yourself? He is getting a little bit of split push going on there, but Grand Canyon, kind of wavering, hesitating on really pulling the trigger on any of these plays. Cled's pushing Singed back in that bottom lane to the second tier turret, and with this hesitation, that means that Gigabytes can now go in, grab their own vision around the Baron. They've been the objective dominant team. They could try to start it up, but most likely are just going to wait for Grand Canyon to make a mistake, because Gigabytes are the team that are in the lead. They don't have to start up the Baron.
They don't have to, but they're not in as much of a commanding lead as they were. So if they see an opportunity, I think it would be best for them to take it and really cement their position, because they're not that far ahead right now. It's like 2,500 is right about the gold lead at the moment, and that's not all that impressive at this phase of the game. So if they could manage to knock down that Baron pretty quick, it'd be nice for their position in the game. Then be able to maybe crack an inhibitor with it.
8 kills to 8. As you said, not that much of a gold lead. We do have to look very quickly at those items that are starting to come through because we have 2 completed items for most every champion in the game, as we are also moving into those third items. Take a look at the Kled and Lucian, both grabbing those QSSs to make sure that they can get out of that Rek'Sai, Skarner ultimate if he decides to go in on them. So you're given a little bit of breathing room for your big carries. It's going to be up to Taliyah, though, to not get caught out because she's one of those only members that deals a lot of damage but doesn't have a QSS.
Yeah, she does have a little bit of speed to outrun the Skarner if she's put in that position. Just chips passing in the night in the bot lane. Just 2 top laners walking by each other. Hey, what's up? Just walk away. Anyway, hold on. You've got Taliyah. Potentially the
Quicksand's in trouble. Wait, the Kai'Sa turns it around, takes down Taliyah. That's what you were saying. It's the Taliyah that's caught out. And now the Acanthid Raid dropping the Karma low. Arbok is still alive, but Mordekaiser hops over the wall. Auto attack finishes her off. They can look for a Psycho up next because there's 4 members grouped around this Kled. Excuse me, make it 5 as Psycho going to be taken off of his map, tossed back by the Singe. You cannot run from the poison stacks. And Kai'Sa comes up huge with a double kill. Now they can move in onto the Sylas or that Lucian. Can they escape? This Sylas going to go ahead and grab Singe's ultimate. Ooh, Quicksand's got to be safe as Lucian can pop some serious damage. They're on to the Baron from the side of Grand Canyon University. This is a very risky play with the damage dealers with Sylas and Lucian still around the corner. We could look for a big fight as Lucian's culling going to be coming out. What can he actually do? Singly is absorbing most of that culling, which means that Kai'Sa will trade with the Sylas as he dived in for that Baron. But now their damage has dropped a lot more because they don't have Kai'Sa for that Baron. Kokorio, that's right. The Reaver's wall out from the Taliyah. Nami Bubble's going to miss. Plumber Mario dropping incredibly low. The Mordekaiser will be taken down. Nova Wolf going to be the next target. Skarner speed boosting himself away, but Lucian's going to flash. Relentless Pursuit in. It's the double kill for Taliyah. And what started off as an incredible fight for Grand Canyon ends in disaster as they try to immediately rotate onto the Baron.
The Baron call itself was not bad, but the execution was, the positioning was. As soon as Sylas showed, they should have all peeled off the Baron, dealt with the threat. They couldn't have been outsmited there, but they very well could have aced them. And it's going to be a continuation. Singed coming in, using the teleport. He's going onto the Baron. He's going to throw Taliyah away and try and neutralize the jungler, but he's not going to be able to do it. Are they going to pull off? The Baron's at half health, and people are coming in wisely. They decide, you know, we just saw this go very badly. Let's not do this.
We don't want to do what the enemy team does. There is that opportunity for Kai'Sa to take that killer instinct in.
That would be a very bad idea.
It's so dangerous. Wait, all right, Grand Canyon say, let's just start up the Baron again ourselves. We're going to be going in. Let Singularly do what he can to keep this enemy team off. He's got that poison ticking away. Maybe they're trying to bait everyone in as the Nami ultimate will be coming through. No one's really knocked up. They're all pushed to the side because Skarner's speeding forward. He can't find anyone to ult, but the ult is up and available. Will he decide to go in? The Baron has been reset. Goes back to full health, and both teams finally breaking away from this very long, drawn-out engage. But there is mid-priority for Grand Canyon.
Yeah, very long, drawn-out engage, right? And they do the right thing here rather than trying to force the Baron. Just sending Skarner down and be like, hey, why don't we get a Drake for once? So definitely the right macro decision. It's not the game-ending victory that a Baron would be, but picking up that Drake, especially, are they actually picking up the Drake?
Oh, Skarner's
very slowly. But I mean, Taliyah's here and he's all alone. Yeah, this is just gonna be another Drake for Gigabytes. All right. Okay, yeah. That was just terrible team movement. They should have all come down and helped Skarner knock down the Drake instead of just derping around in mid lane. Easy Drake to secure, but that's 4 dragons and makes an Elder Drake a very real win condition for Gigabyte. Also, the Mountain Drake gives them the ability to burn down the Baron very quickly. Moments before, they were having difficulty enough. Third Ocean Drake going to be the final Drake this time before Elder gets on the table. But they were having difficulty knocking down the Baron fast enough to sneak it. But with a Mountain Drake, it's a very real possibility once they get some more control wards down for Gigabytes to just burn the Baron.
Well, and this is much tougher from Gigabytes, considering that last game at this point, they were basically 8,000 gold up. They really had full control over the map. They don't at the moment. It's highly contested, most wards sitting somewhere in that river. Both teams constantly flexing around this Baron. Neither team has been able to actually secure the Baron. They're gonna have to commit to a fight eventually. One of the things you noticed during that last Dragon pick, might have noticed, is that another turret went down. It's total of 4 turrets to 3. Siglery getting his health chunked down just a little bit. Nami throwing out that ultimate. That's actually a huge ultimate down from Grand Canyon just to disengage that fight. Huge risk to throw that out because now it gives Gigabytes
it's only a minute
around that Baron.
Yeah, it's only a minute. Unless they commit to the Baron right now using that as the go button, I doubt it's going to make a huge difference. They're just kind of posturing around and grabbing neutral objectives. The buffs going over Osiris, just going to pick that up for himself, and just pushing of waves. So it was a bold choice from the Nami to throw that out, and definitely could have been punished. If Gigabytes had decided to, they definitely could have used that as the go button for the fight around Baron, because that is a huge, huge ability.
Oh, both teams continue to collect. The standoff will continue. Singe just pushing the bottom lane just a little bit, getting those wards shoving into the enemy team's lane as he doesn't have that teleport. So he has to run his way all the way back up to the Baron pit as Gigabytes just stand around, just to, twiddle their fingers, play a game of cards, waiting to see where Grand Canyon's members pop out from in those lanes. Kaisa also making sure that top lane minion wave will crash about even in that river. Can a pick come through for that Mordekaiser? They get the seismic shove, but it's not a kill just yet. Mordekaiser will actually steal away Psycho, so they've taken the Kled out of the fight. Weaver's wall to split up the enemy teams of Grand Canyon. Not engaging hard just yet. Nami ultimate coming down, knocking out the Talia. Skarner's got her! He's dragging her in! Can they find the kill? Kaisa goes over the wall with the shield, but it's not enough because I'll Take Mid is taking her down. Psycho is still alive. I'll Take Mid flashing away. It's now a 4v5. Kled is trying to get his mount back, hoping to be able to build up that courage. Skarner pick unable to actually execute that Talia. Now the team is in a bit of a hairy spot, but they can keep pushing forward.
Yeah, the Mordekaiser ultimate getting burned at the beginning of that fight was huge. Mord ult is actually just incredibly good at peeling for your carries. Nobody in solo queue ever does this, because who ever heard of peeling for your damage dealers in solo queue? But if you just look at their strongest diver and go, actually, you're fighting me now. You neutralize one champion who would be diving your backline, or it just ult the enemy ADC and just you don't get to play the game. You don't get to damage my whole front line. And have the entire team just mow down the opposition while you just kind of sit there. And even if you die to the enemy ADC and their entire team dies while you're in the ultimate, doesn't really matter. It's effectively a point and click, 2-3 second CC. How long is that actually?
The Skarner ultimate?
No, Death Realm.
Oh, I think it's 3 seconds. It's 7 seconds? Oh, well, it's a lot longer than either of us were expecting.
Yeah, it's a 7 second ult. I always thought that was broken. It's like you just get to cancel out a critical member of the enemy team for 7 seconds and just make them attack you. It's basically a 7-second taunt.
Well, we're back again, delaying around that Baron. No Baron has been grabbed just yet. No major objectives have gone down. We are 31 minutes into this game, and now's where you really start to look at those late scaling champions, because we don't talk too much about it in the early game, considering we usually see games ending at this point. But there is that Kaisa, now 4, 5, and 3 with 250 CS. She's 3 items completed so far. Might be looking for that Infinity Edge next with that pickaxe. The Silas, however, 4, 3, and 0. 3 items completed, has the Proto Belt for the extra speed, as well as that Zhonya's if he does get grabbed by the Skarner. Options coming out from both teams. It's another Ocean Drake to Gigabytes. They are happy to delay any fight they want to, because they'll heal back to full in just a matter of seconds.
Moreover, they have the option for the Elder Drake. And hearing that go off, in comes the Sweeper Patrol, trying to take out Vision. And they get the Scuttle Crab. That's huge. Vision can be removed. but Scuttle Crab cannot. And at the moment, they're just kind of camping out in here, waiting for their opponents to face check them now. The situation isn't dire as Arbok drops.
Wait, we got a pincer move onto 3 members. The Nami ult is going to knock everyone up. Can they grab the Karma or the Lucian? Kokira's still alive, but there's a Singe. Look at the speed. Look at the moves going right on in, forcing the flash and the relentless pursuit, but he's still going to fall. Lucian will die to the Skarner, and now I'll take mid is caught up between 4 members. He will go down as well. Only the Nami was out of that fight, but it's 4 kills for 0. Grand Canyon should absolutely secure Baron.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the turning point of the fight. 3 members caught out, and Psycho was in a side lane, and I'll take mid was, well, all the way up in mid when he should have been all the way over in Baron. Right there, unfortunately, they caught out without one of their strongest carries at the moment, and that cost them a huge amount of pressure, and most likely, if not the game, at least this phase of the game. There's still the possibility of Elder Drake 5 stacks and just a complete wipe. But you've got Forbidden on the Kaisa, got smashed in lane, but is only 30 CS down now, and the items that the Kaisa has way outscale the items that the Lucian has. And while he is 3-1, all of those kills happened in the early game.
And one of my judgments against Grand Canyon for most of this game was that it felt like they never really pulled the trigger on their own play. Most of the time they were trying to respond to Gigabytes' aggression as they were moving champions around the map, trying to get pressure here, grab a turret there, do those sorts of things. However, now that I'm looking at the overall scope of the game, Grand Canyon did a good job of, yes, they lost all of those exterior turrets and 1 extra in the mid lane, but they really haven't lost anything else. They've been on the defensive until the right moment. They strike, they grab 4 kills for 0, they grab the Baron. The question now comes into play, can they get something more off of it? Because Baron is a great thing to have if you can grab those structures, if you can grab those neutral objectives. Otherwise, it will just eventually fall off, and you're back to square one.
Yeah, and this is why I've always disliked early game champions, especially in the ADC role like Lucian, because it feels so good when you're smashing your opponent, and feels so bad when you're like, I smashed my opponent and it didn't matter. They're still gonna beat me. Yeah, meanwhile, Singe taking a little chunk, but that's not gonna matter too much, as they are just shoving down mid lane. Grand Canyon basically carving their name into mid. Okay.
Weaver's walled. I think that was just a defensive play. It's time for Gigabytes to try to turtle themselves. I like it, though, from Cuddle Master in the Twitch chat saying that he bought the Grand Canyon University team pizza, but it's sitting there getting cold while this game continues to go on. And they might be looking for the finals as well, but I guess they can scarf a little pizza between this game and the next one if they actually come out with the win. They're 4 kills up, 4,000 gold up, but can they crack open the base of Gigabytes?
That's a good question, Jay. Can they? I mean, let's take a look at their siege potential. Mordekaiser sucks at sieging. Nami. Okay. Skarner. Okay. Singe, absolutely 0 siege potential. Kaisa, one of the shorter ranged ADCs in the game. They're going to have a really hard time. Basically, the way they siege is Nami ults, Skarner hits Predator, and they're like, actually, we're just engaging on you and making you back off. That's how this goes, because they can't siege so much as they can just, you know, run at you under turret. But, of course, it's always dangerous diving turret, because that's essentially putting a 6th man as damage goes on the enemy team. And while you can 5v5 pretty effectively, can you 5v6?
It's the Fnatic Death Brush.
And the random heal.
Hey, I mean, look, when you've got the spell book, you drop the heal. Why not? There is an Elder Drake up on the map coming up in about 10 seconds, and it might be Grand Canyon that's looking to grab a sneaky pick as Gigabytes might be expecting them to go for that Herald. Oh, they've got themselves a Talia. It's the Nami knockup onto multiple members. A great seismic shove, but it's on the tanky members. The Speedy McSpeedy of the Singe running forward, now turning around and running right back. They're going for the Elder Drake, making sure the Gigabytes cannot try to contest that. Singe splitting in the bottom lane as he's looking just to keep keep the enemy members busy. This should be Elder to Grand Canyon with the 0 Drakes.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a denial from their opponents. This Elder Drake is definitely the linchpin for Gigabytes right now. If they manage to pick it up, they will just have so much damage. But good denial here, and they can still use it to try, if not siege, to at least pressure to the point where they can force down an inhibitor. Breaking the base is the next phase for them.
Well, the chain CC coming through huge in that last fight. Nova Wolf finding that ultimate onto the Talia, dragging her forward. She then uses the Quicksilver, but the Nami ultimate is following right up with a bubble to boot as well. So good chaining that CC, grabbing one of those big enemy champions. The fight disengages from there. You cannot, at this point in the game, fight a 5v4. It's just too dangerous. And I like that the front line from the side of Grand Canyon has actually given themselves some real health, really beefy. Almost everyone is over 3,000 health, so they can absolutely take a bunch of damage and let those carries, most importantly this Kai'Sa, actually deal damage. Because really, when you look at Grand Canyon, their damage is Kai'Sa or chasing Singed. And that's a dangerous spot to be in if your Kai'Sa dies.
Yeah, Mordekaiser's also in a pretty good spot right now and just does great base damage. But you're definitely true. You're definitely right. The ones who are going, or the one that is going to be doing crazy amounts of damage is going to be that Kai'Sa. While Singed is building AP, not exactly what you'd call a reliable damage source. Pretty difficult to outplay people with Singed.
To the Baron we go once again. Grand Canyon gonna go immediately start it up as soon as it pops up. But this time around, Gigabytes have all 5 members up. They could be hoping with this Elder Drake to turn things around. The Weaver's Wall gonna at least pull them off of the Baron for a moment, but they're gonna consider going back in. The Baron is healing. His aggression's not gonna last very long, as now the fight will break out. Nami's immediately out of the fight, throws out the Redemption, only gonna heal the Singed up for a little bit as he's running backwards. Nova Wolf in the middle of the fight is dropping low, but Kai'Sa is still alive. Forbidden doing what she can to the back line. The health bars are dropping for Gigabytes. They're too low. The Talia is up next. Obliterate comes down from the Mordekaiser. They've gotten 4 members. They've only lost 1 to the jungler. I'll take mid. They're trying to chase him down, but he is a bit too fast. He will get out, having stolen away that Singed buff. They're on to the Baron buff, but they don't have their jungler, so stealing it away, Silas does have an opportunity to try.
Yeah, and will he be able to? Singed wisely takes out the Blast Cone right now. Silas has pathed around and he's just clearing mid lane. He's not going to give it a shot. I felt like if he'd gone for that, he definitely could have interrupted it. There just wasn't enough damage there. I mean, aside from Kai'Sa, who was incredibly low, if he just threatened her right there, I don't think they could have finished that.
Oh, it's just a rough time for Gigabytes, because you can see they have this idea of disrupt the fight with the Weaver's Wall and then 5-man jump on someone. But the problem is that every time they try to do that, Grand Canyon have a response. They force somebody to run away because there's a Skarner chasing in on you. Then there's a Singed that is just so fast and does a ton of damage with that Leandra's Torment that you have to respond to him as well. And when you're being split in multiple directions, because the slipperiness of the Nami and Kai'Sa are the ones you want to hop on, but they're protected by that Mordekaiser Skarner front line, it just makes Gigabyte's life so darn difficult. And unless you find a perfect Talia Weaver's Wall to section off one person, hop and kill them instantly, or split up a fight so much so the Grand Canyon cannot group as 5, you're just out of luck. And unfortunately that time the Weaver's Wall put all 5 members on the same side, which meant that they weren't able to fight the fight they wanted with a numbers advantage.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's just kind of a compositional thing at this point. Kai'Sa is going to just straight out scale the Lucian. Jungler Skarner at this point in the game offers a lot more to the team than Talia does. From a supportive standpoint, I mean, Karma's decent late game, but Nami's better. The ultimate is just so much stronger from the Nami. Very strong for either engage or disengage, and that's the main thing. She also brings a fair amount of CC to the table. Silas Silas Mord is kind of a wash right now. Like, Mord's ability to remove a critical target from the fight for 7 seconds is pretty overpowered, but Silas is doing a ton of damage, and it has the ability to steal ultimates, so I think it's a little bit Silas favored right there, but only in that lane.
Weaver's wall from Talia trying to lock in the members of Grand Canyon. Singe is coming in, but he can't do anything. Sitting around, waiting for the Weaver's wall to come in, and now he can try to respond. The Lucian and Talia are still alive. Critical members of Gigabytes that are up, but they might be going down. Now is Grand Canyon going to be pushing in, looking for those last kills, that they're going to get it because Kaisa was untouched. Forbidden gets a triple kill. Singe will pick up another one. This should be the end of the game, as the Gigabytes will be ace and knocked out from getting into the finals. Grand Canyon University Esports will move on to face Y2150 in the finals.
Yep. And that's why you pick scaling champions, boys, because when it goes to 41 minutes, and you didn't think it was going to go to 41 minutes, well, I mean, always pick the Kaisa, don't pick the Lucian.
Unless you're able to take something like the Lucian and the early game lead the Gigabytes did have, especially if you consider the game they just played previously, where they got a 4, 5, 6,000 gold lead and then just snowballed it into a victory because they were just so far ahead. You can do that, but you have to constantly be aggressive and pushing your leads. You can't simply sit and delay around the Baron for 20 minutes.
Catnator just said just pick Jhin. He knows what's up.
Jhin equals win. I'm just saying.
Exactly. They rhyme, and rhyming means that it's true.
All right. Well, the Twitch chat did ask to look at the gold. This is actually the damage chart, so I'll check the gold here in just a second. But the Singed and the Kaisa topping it out for Grand Canyon University. You can see kind of who those carries were in those team fights. Whereas from the side of Gigabytes, so much was put onto this Lucian and Silas, and exactly as you're talking about, while Lucian did a ton of damage as the game went on, it just couldn't compare to that Kaisa.
Yeah, definitely. Just way too powerful in terms of scaling. And it, like I said, I think that game was lost in draft. All in all, Gigabytes outplayed them in the early game. They got the lead, but then when it came to the late game, they just got straight out scale. They didn't have ability to strongly access the backline. I mean, I'll take Mid was doing his best in those fights to kill the Kaisa, but having access to the stealth and a lot of self-peel, Kaisa is very hard to kill solo. Psycho in the side lane, even in the team fights, not able to actually pierce all the way to the back line and get kills on the Kaisa, and just way too powerful. And meanwhile, you had a bunch of beefcakes in the front line. Mordekaiser, you had Singed, who was dealing a surprising amount of damage using just his poison trail. And then the Skarner, you just had so much tankiness, and Lucian is not really that good at dealing with tankiness.
Rough stuff, but congratulations to Grand Canyon University Esports. They will be moving on to the finals. We're going to take a very quick break. That game should be pretty fast to set up here in just a moment, so don't go anywhere, and hopefully we shouldn't have nearly as long of a delay between games as you will have in this next one. Now, I think somebody said to pull up the music for the Dark Star Jhin skin. I'll see if I can find that to play that in the background for you all. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.